The door slammed shut at dawn once more, leaving Bradley alone in the rumpled sheets. He knew Wesley had slipped away again without a word, but this time the silence screamed louder than ever, forcing him to face what he'd been ignoring for months. Sunlight filtered through the half-drawn blinds of his small Brooklyn apartment, painting stripes across the empty pillow where Wesley's head had rested just hours earlier. Bradley sat up slowly, rubbing the sleep from his eyes, his chest tight with that familiar mix of longing and frustration. At 32, he had built a decent life here in New York as a graphic designer for a mid-sized ad agency, far from the conservative Texas town where his parents still prayed every Sunday for him to meet a nice girl and settle down. They sent weekly texts about church potlucks and his cousin's new baby, never suspecting the truth he had buried so deep even he sometimes forgot it was there. He swung his legs over the side of the bed and padded to the kitchen, brewing coffee on autopilot. The mug warmed his hands as he stared out the window at the waking city, wondering for the 100th time why Wesley always left before the sun came up. They had been seeing each other for 4 months now, ever since that rainy evening at the gallery opening in Chelsea where Wesley, an architect with sharp cheekbones and an easy laugh, had bumped into him while reaching for the same glass of Pinot Noir. Their conversation had flowed like the rain outside, easy and electric. Within a week, they were sharing late-night dinners and quiet walks along the High Line. But every single time they spent the night together, Wesley would kiss Bradley's forehead around 4 in the morning, whisper something about an early meeting, and slip out the door like a ghost. Bradley had tried not to read too much into it at first. Everyone had their quirks, right? Wesley was 35, successful, and guarded in a way that felt protective rather than cold. Yet lately the pattern gnawed at him. Last night had been perfect. They had cooked pasta together in this very kitchen, laughing over spilled sauce, then curled up on the couch watching an old documentary about city architecture. Wesley had talked about his latest project redesigning a community center in Queens, his eyes lighting up with passion. Bradley had felt seen, really seen, for the first time in years. Then came the familiar click of the door at dawn, and here he was again, alone with his thoughts. He pulled out his phone and typed a quick message. "Morning. Coffee's still hot if you want to swing back by later." He hit send before he could overthink it. No reply came immediately, which was normal. Wesley worked long hours and kept odd schedules. Bradley showered, dressed in his usual button-down and jeans, and headed to the agency, trying to shake the unease. At his desk, surrounded by mood boards and client briefs, he lost himself in work until lunchtime when his best friend Marcus dropped by with sandwiches from the corner deli. Marcus, a straight ally who had known Bradley since college, slid into the chair across from him. "You look like someone stole your dog." "Spill." Bradley hesitated, then told him about the latest early exit. Marcus nodded thoughtfully, chewing his turkey club. "Dude, you've been glowing every time you mention this guy. But if he's always bailing before breakfast, maybe he's not as all-in as you are." Bradley shrugged it off, but the words stuck with him through the afternoon meetings. By evening, when Wesley finally texted back a simple, "Busy day? Rain check?" Bradley felt the first crack in his carefully built optimism. He decided to cook anyway, making extra portions of the stir-fry they both liked, telling himself it was just in case. As he chopped vegetables, memories flooded in. Growing up in Texas, Bradley had learned early to hide the way other boys made his heart race. His father, a retired oil rig supervisor, still used phrases like "real men" at family gatherings. Coming to New York had been his escape, a place where he could breathe. Meeting Wesley had felt like the reward for all those years of quiet loneliness. Yet now doubt crept in. Was he just another temporary stop in Wesley's life? The night stretched long. Bradley ate alone, then paced the living room, replaying their conversations. Wesley had shared pieces of his own story. Raised in a strict Catholic household in Boston, he had lost touch with most of his family after college when they learned he was gay. He spoke of it lightly, but Bradley sensed the scars underneath. Maybe that was why he left early, protecting himself from getting too close. Bradley wanted to be the one who proved it could be different. He wanted mornings together, lazy weekends, the kind of love that didn't vanish with the sunrise. When his phone buzzed at 10, it was Wesley. "Sorry about today. Can I come over?" Relief washed over Bradley like warm rain. He typed yes instantly. 30 minutes later, Wesley stood at the door, rain-damp hair and that crooked smile that always melted Bradley's resolve. They didn't talk much at first, just held each other on the couch, the city humming outside. But as midnight approached, Bradley felt the question rising in his throat. He pushed it down, not wanting to ruin the moment. For now, having Wesley here was enough. Tomorrow, he told himself, he would ask why the mornings always felt so empty. The next day at work dragged. Bradley sketched logos for a new client, but his mind kept drifting to Wesley's text from that morning. "Left early again. Work emergency. Miss you already." It was the same excuse, polished and polite. Marcus noticed during their afternoon coffee run. "You gonna keep letting him do this?" Bradley sighed. "I like him, Marcus. A lot. Maybe too much." His friend clapped him on the shoulder. "Then talk to him. Real talk. You deserve someone who stays." The words echoed as Bradley walked home that evening, the Brooklyn streets alive with people heading to dinners and dates. He stopped at the corner market for fresh flowers, a small gesture to make the apartment feel welcoming. Wesley arrived after 8, carrying takeout Thai food as a peace offering. They ate on the floor picnic style, trading stories about their days. Wesley described a tense client meeting, his hands gesturing animatedly. Bradley watched him, heart swelling, and decided tonight was the night. After dinner, as they cleared plates, he turned. "Wes, can we talk about something?" Wesley's smile faltered just a fraction. "Sure, what's up?" Bradley took a breath. "Why do you always leave before morning? Every time. I wake up and you're gone. I want to understand." The question hung between them like smoke. Wesley looked away, fiddling with a napkin. "It's complicated, Brad. Work stuff mostly. Early calls." But his eyes said more, a flicker of something guarded and old. Bradley didn't push harder that night. They ended up talking until 2, sharing deeper pieces of their pasts. Wesley admitted the family rejection had left him wary of routines that felt permanent. Bradley opened up about his parents' expectations, the way he still dodged their questions about dating. It felt like progress, a bridge forming. When they finally went to bed, Wesley stayed longer than usual, his arm draped over Bradley's waist until nearly 5. Yet when Bradley stirred at dawn, the bed was cold again. The door had clicked shut once more. This time, though, Bradley didn't just lie there. He grabbed his phone and typed a longer message. "We need to figure this out. Coffee at our usual spot tomorrow." He hit send and waited, the apartment silent except for the distant siren of a passing ambulance. For the first time, he realized he was no longer willing to accept the pattern. Something had to change or he would have to walk away. The thought terrified him, but it also felt like the first real step toward the life he had come to New York to find. Bradley waited at the corner cafe the next morning, nursing a latte that had gone lukewarm. The usual spot was their place, a cozy spot with exposed brick walls and the smell of fresh pastries that always reminded him of their first real date. He had chosen a table by the window, watching pedestrians hurry past under gray skies. When Wesley finally walked in 20 minutes late, hair tousled from the wind, Bradley's heart did its familiar flip. But the conversation he had rehearsed all night sat heavy on his tongue. They ordered fresh drinks and settled in. Wesley smiled that disarming smile. "Sorry, the subway was a nightmare." Bradley nodded, then dove in. "Last night was good talking like that, but you still left. I need to know if this is going somewhere real, Wes, because I am all in, and waking up alone every time makes me feel like maybe you are not." Wesley stirred his coffee slowly, eyes on the table. "I am in, Bradley. More than you know. But mornings. They are hard for me. After everything with my family, I guess I got used to keeping some distance. It is not about you. The explanation felt partial, like a curtain pulled only halfway. Bradley reached across the table, taking Wesley's hand. Then let me in all the way. Stay one morning. Just one. We can make breakfast, talk more. I want us to build something that lasts past sunrise. Wesley squeezed his hand back, but his expression remained cautious. I will try. For you. They spent the rest of the hour planning a weekend getaway upstate. A cabin rental where phones could stay off and the world could wait. Felt like a promise. As they left the cafe, Wesley kissed him quickly on the cheek, right there on the sidewalk in broad daylight. Small victories, Bradley thought, watching him disappear into the crowd. Back at the office, Marcus cornered him during the afternoon break. Did you ask? Bradley recounted the conversation, and Marcus grinned. Progress, man. Proud of you. The day passed in a blur of revisions and client calls. That evening Bradley's phone rang with a Texas area code. His mother. He answered with forced cheer. Hey Mom. How is everyone? She launched into her usual update. Dad's garden was thriving, church was planning a youth retreat, and had he met anyone special yet? Bradley dodged as always, mentioning work deadlines and the busy city life. When she pressed, he changed the subject to his sister's new job. Hanging up left him drained, the familiar guilt settling like fog. How long could he keep pretending? Wesley came over after work, and they cooked together again, the kitchen filled with laughter and the sizzle of garlic. Over dinner Wesley shared more about his Boston days, the church youth group where he had first realized he was different, the painful coming out that had cost him holidays and phone calls home. Bradley listened, sharing his own stories of high school crushes he never acted on. The connection deepened, and when they went to bed, Wesley stayed until 6:30, long enough for Bradley to wake and see his face in the early light. See, Wesley murmured sleepily. Trying. It was enough to carry Bradley through the week with renewed hope. But cracks appeared midweek. On Wednesday Bradley had lunch with an old college friend, Sarah, who worked nearby. She asked about his love life, and when he mentioned Wesley, her face lit up. Bring him to my birthday party next weekend. Everyone is coming. Bradley agreed enthusiastically and texted Wesley the invite that afternoon. The reply came hours later. Sounds fun, but I have a big deadline. Rain check. Bradley stared at the screen, the old doubt creeping back. He replied lightly, but inside the pattern felt familiar. That night when Wesley arrived, Bradley tried to keep things light, yet the question slipped out again. Why the rain check? It is just a party. Wesley sighed, running a hand through his hair. Family stuff came up. My brother is in town unexpectedly. It was the first time Wesley had mentioned a brother. Bradley wanted to ask more, but Wesley changed the subject to a funny client story, and the moment passed. Friday brought another early departure. Bradley woke to an empty bed and a note on the pillow. Early flight for work. Call you later. No explanation about the brother or the party. Bradley crumpled the note, frustration building. He spent the day at a museum exhibit for inspiration, but his mind wandered to Wesley's guarded smiles. Marcus texted him during the afternoon. Party at Sarah's is still on. Bring Wesley if he can make it. Bradley decided then to push a little harder. He called Wesley that evening. Hey, about the party tomorrow. Any chance? The line was quiet for a beat. I will try to swing by later. Promise. The word hung like a fragile thread. The party was lively, laughter spilling from Sarah's rooftop in Williamsburg. Bradley mingled, but his eyes kept drifting to the door. Wesley arrived at 10, looking sharp in a dark jacket, and the night improved instantly. They danced a little, shared drinks with friends, and for a few hours everything felt normal, like any couple. Marcus pulled Bradley aside at one point. He seems solid tonight. Good call. But as midnight approached, Wesley checked his watch. I should head out soon. Early thing tomorrow. Bradley's stomach dropped. Stay till morning. Please. Wesley kissed his temple. I will text you when I get home. And just like that, he was gone again, leaving Bradley among friends who noticed the sudden quiet in his eyes. Sunday morning, Bradley sat on his fire escape with coffee, replaying the weekend. The upstate cabin plan was still on for next month, but the pattern persisted. He scrolled through old photos of them on his phone, smiling at the memories, yet the ache grew. When Wesley called around noon, sounding cheerful, Bradley confronted it gently. I missed you after the party. Every time you leave, it feels like I am starting over. Wesley's voice softened. I know. I am working on it. My past makes trust hard, but you are worth it. They talked for an hour, making plans for a quiet dinner that week. Bradley hung up feeling lighter, convinced they were moving forward. That evening he visited a local support group for LGBTQ professionals, something he had joined months ago but rarely attended. The stories shared there mirrored his own. Men navigating family rejection, partners with commitment fears, the slow work of building acceptance. One speaker talked about how love required showing up fully, not just in the dark. Bradley left with a new resolve. He would keep showing up for Wesley, but he would also demand the same in return. The city lights blurred as he walked home, determination settling in his chest. Whatever secret Wesley held about those early mornings, Bradley was ready to face it together. The journey had just begun, and for the first time he believed they could reach the other side. Weeks turned into a delicate dance. Bradley and Wesley settled into a rhythm of dinners, weekend hikes in Central Park, and late-night talks that stretched until the sky lightened. Wesley stayed until 7 one morning, long enough to share scrambled eggs and laughter over the newspaper. Bradley felt the relationship strengthening, like roots pushing through concrete. At work his designs flowed better, colors brighter on the page. Marcus noticed during their Friday happy hour. You two are practically married at this point. When do I get to meet the family? Bradley laughed it off, but the question lingered. His parents had planned a surprise visit to New York in 2 weeks, a trip they had been hinting at for months. The thought of introducing Wesley terrified and thrilled him in equal measure. The misunderstanding started small. Bradley was grabbing lunch near Wesley's office when he spotted him across the street, deep in conversation with a tall man in a suit. They hugged briefly, the kind of embrace that looked familiar. Bradley's stomach twisted. He texted Wesley later, "Saw you at lunch today. Who was that?" The reply came quick. "Old friend from Boston. Catching up." But something in the tone felt off. That night Wesley arrived with flowers, yet the air between them carried tension. Bradley asked again over pasta. "Just a friend?" It looked intense. Wesley set down his fork. "His name is Daniel. We grew up together." Nothing more. Bradley wanted to believe him, but doubt planted a seed. The next day at the support group, Bradley shared the encounter. The facilitator nodded. Jealousy is normal, but so is asking for clarity. Emboldened, Bradley invited Wesley to the group meeting the following week. Wesley agreed, but canceled last minute with another work excuse. The pattern of half-truths began to weigh heavier. Marcus pulled him aside at the gym. "Dude, I like Wesley, but if he is hiding stuff, you deserve better." Bradley defended him fiercely. "He has been through a lot. I am giving him time." Family pressure arrived like a storm. His parents landed at JFK on a Thursday, excited for their first big city adventure. Bradley met them at the hotel, hugging his mother tightly while his father clapped him on the back. Over dinner at an Italian place in Little Italy, the questions came. "Any special lady yet?" his mother asked, eyes hopeful. Bradley swallowed hard. "Actually, I have been seeing someone. His name is Wesley." The table went quiet. His father set down his wine glass. "A man?" The word hung heavy. His mother recovered first, forcing a smile. "We want you happy, honey. Tell us about him." The conversation limped along, but Bradley saw the disappointment in his father's eyes. Later in the hotel lobby, his dad pulled him aside. "Son, we raised you right. This phase, it will pass." Bradley felt the old shame rise, but he stood tall. "This is who I am, Dad. Wesley makes me better." He brought Wesley to brunch the next morning. Wesley charmed them with stories about architecture and travel, but the tension was palpable. His mother asked polite questions, while his father barely spoke. When they parted, his parents hugged Wesley awkwardly. Alone later, Bradley asked Wesley how it felt. "It was fine," Wesley said, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. That night Wesley left at 4 again, citing jet lag from a work trip. Bradley lay awake, the family visit replaying like a bad movie. The rift with his best friend widened when Marcus met Wesley for the first time at a bar. They got along at first, trading sports talk, but later Marcus texted Bradley. "He seems cool, but he dodged every question about his past. Watch yourself." Bradley confronted Wesley the next evening. "Marcus thinks you are hiding something. Are you?" Wesley paced the apartment. "Everyone has history, Brad. Daniel was more than a friend once, years ago. It ended badly. That is all." The admission stung, but Bradley pushed for more. "Why the secrets? I told my parents about us. I am all in." Wesley's voice cracked. "Because getting close means risk. I lost everything once. I cannot lose you too." The argument escalated into the first real fight. Bradley accused Wesley of emotional distance. Wesley accused him of pushing too hard. They parted angry, Wesley storming out before midnight. Bradley sat on the couch, head in hands, wondering if love was supposed to hurt this much. The next morning no text came. Panic set in. He called Marcus, who listened patiently. "Give him space, but do not settle." Bradley spent the day wandering the city, ending up at the High Line where they had first kissed. Memories flooded him. He texted Wesley, "I am sorry. Can we talk?" Wesley replied at dusk, "Meet me at the cabin this weekend. We need time away." Relief mixed with nerves. The upstate rental was booked, a rustic place with a fireplace and views of the mountains. They drove up Friday after work, the car ride tense at first but easing into old jokes. At the cabin they unpacked, cooked over the fire, and talked until the logs burned low. Wesley opened up about Daniel, the betrayal that had left him afraid of mornings because they symbolized permanence. "I leave early because staying feels like promising forever, and I have broken promises before." Bradley held him close. "I am not Daniel. We can make our own promises." The weekend healed some wounds. They hiked trails, shared stories under stars, and made love with a tenderness that felt new. Sunday morning Wesley stayed until 10, making coffee and watching the sunrise with Bradley on the porch. "This is what I want," he whispered. Driving back to the city, Bradley felt hopeful again. But back home, a new text from his mother waited. "We love you, but Dad needs time. Call when you can." The family fracture ached, yet Wesley's hand in his as they unpacked made it bearable. Monday brought routine, but the misunderstanding festered when Bradley saw a photo on Wesley's phone while he was in the shower. It was Daniel, arm around Wesley at what looked like a recent dinner. The caption read, "Miss our talks." Bradley's heart sank. When Wesley emerged, Bradley held up the phone. "Explain." Wesley's face paled. "It is not what you think." He reached out about family stuff. "I should have told you." The explanation felt thin. Bradley stormed out for air, walking blocks until his anger cooled. He returned to find Wesley packing a bag. "I need space," Wesley said quietly. The door closed softly behind him, not slamming but final. Bradley sank onto the bed, the empty apartment echoing the old loneliness. Was this the end, or just another test? He stared at the ceiling, the city lights flickering outside like distant stars, wondering how much more his heart could take before breaking completely. The silence after Wesley left stretched for 3 agonizing days. Bradley threw himself into work, designing late into the night, but every notification made his pulse jump. Marcus dragged him out for a run in Prospect Park, forcing fresh air into his lungs. "He will come back," Marcus said between strides. "But you have to decide what you are willing to accept." Bradley nodded, sweat mixing with the tears he refused to shed. On the 4th day, a knock sounded at his door. Wesley stood there, eyes tired, holding 2 coffees. "Can I come in?" They sat at the kitchen table, the drinks untouched. Wesley spoke first. "I messed up. Daniel was my first love. He reached out because his mom is sick, and I felt guilty for ignoring him. But there is nothing between us anymore. You are my present, Bradley. My future if you will have me." The revelation hit like a wave. Bradley listened as Wesley laid out the full story. The betrayal years ago when Daniel had chosen family approval over their relationship, leaving Wesley shattered and wary of commitment. The early departures were a defense mechanism, a way to leave before he could be left. "I never meant to hurt you," Wesley said, voice breaking. "But hiding it made everything worse." Bradley reached across the table, the anger melting into understanding. "I am scared too. My parents barely speak to me now. But we can face it together." They talked for hours, tears and laughter mixing until the sun set. That night Wesley stayed until morning, the first full sunrise they shared. The turning point came the following week. Bradley's parents called for a video chat, their faces serious on the screen. His father spoke first. "Son, we have been praying on this. We do not understand, but we love you. Bring Wesley to Thanksgiving if you want." The acceptance, partial and tentative, felt like a miracle. Bradley cried after the call, Wesley holding him tight. "See? Things change." They celebrated with a quiet dinner, planning the holiday visit. But secrets had a way of surfacing at the worst times. The big revelation exploded on a Tuesday evening. Bradley was at Wesley's apartment for the first time, a sleek modern place in Manhattan. While Wesley took a work call, Bradley browsed the bookshelf and found an old journal tucked behind some architecture books. Curiosity won. Inside were entries about Daniel, but also about a medical diagnosis from years ago. A chronic condition Wesley had managed quietly, something that made him fear burdening anyone long-term. Bradley's hands shook as he read. When Wesley returned, he saw the journal and froze. "You read it." The air thickened. Wesley explained. He had been diagnosed with a heart condition that required careful management. Nothing immediately life-threatening, but enough to make him pull away from deep attachments. "I did not want you to stay out of pity," he admitted, "or leave because of it." Bradley felt betrayed by the omission, yet compassion flooded in. "You should have trusted me." They argued, voices rising, until Wesley broke down. "I was scared you would see me as damaged." The misunderstanding had been rooted in fear, not deceit. Bradley pulled him close. "We are in this together. No more secrets." The night ended in exhausted peace, but the emotional toll lingered. Bradley realized how much Wesley had sacrificed by keeping the truth hidden, protecting both of them from potential pain. Work suffered as Bradley processed everything. At the agency, his boss noticed the distraction and offered a week off. He used it to visit family in Texas alone first, testing the waters. His mother hugged him fiercely at the airport. "Wesley is welcome anytime." His father shook his hand, still stiff but trying. The trip healed old wounds, and Bradley returned to New York stronger. Wesley met him at the gate with flowers, the gesture simple yet profound. "I stayed the whole time you were gone," he joked. They laughed, but the road ahead felt clearer. Friendship with Marcus mended too. Over beers, Marcus apologized for doubting Wesley. "You two are good for each other." Bradley invited him to a group dinner, where Wesley and Marcus bonded over bad dad jokes. The circle widened, support growing. Yet the societal pressure never fully lifted. At a work event, colleagues whispered when Bradley introduced Wesley as his partner. Bradley held his head high, Wesley's hand steady in his. Small battles, daily wins. The major turning point solidified during a stormy night in late October. A power outage plunged the city into darkness. They lit candles and talked by the fireplace in Bradley's apartment. Wesley shared the full extent of his condition, the medications, the lifestyle changes he had made. Bradley listened without judgment, then shared his own fears about family rejection. "We have both been running from the truth," Bradley said. "No more." They made a pact. Full honesty, no early exits, no hidden journals. As the rain pounded the windows, they held each other, the storm outside mirroring the one they had weathered inside. Bradley felt the shift in his soul, a maturity born from pain. He was no longer the man who waited alone at dawn. He was choosing to build a life where mornings meant togetherness. The week before Thanksgiving, they shopped for the trip to Texas. Wesley picked out a tie for Bradley's father, nervous but committed. "This is big," he said in the store. Bradley kissed him right there among the racks. "We are bigger." Back home they packed, laughter filling the apartment. The future stretched bright, even with uncertainties. Bradley realized the journey had changed him, teaching that love demanded courage, not perfection. As they fell asleep that night, Wesley's arm around him until morning, Bradley whispered thanks to whatever force had brought them together. The devastating truth had not destroyed them. It had set them free. Thanksgiving in Texas arrived with crisp air and the smell of pecan pie. Bradley's family home buzzed with relatives, but the tension was palpable when Wesley stepped through the door. His mother greeted him warmly, offering a hug. His father shook hands firmly, eyes assessing. Dinner conversations skirted the obvious until Uncle Joe asked bluntly, "So how did you two meet?" Wesley answered smoothly, charming the table with stories of New York. Bradley watched his father relax slightly, the first crack in the wall. Later, helping with dishes, his mother pulled him aside. "He seems good for you." "We are trying, honey." The words meant everything. Back in New York, the holidays blurred into winter. Snow dusted the streets as Bradley and Wesley celebrated their 6-month mark with a rooftop dinner overlooking the city. Wesley stayed every morning now, the old habit broken. Yet new challenges emerged. Wesley's health checkup brought news of needing minor surgery in the spring, a routine procedure but one that required recovery time. "I will need you," he told Bradley over breakfast. Bradley squeezed his hand. "I am not going anywhere." The commitment felt solid, tested, and true. Betrayal came from an unexpected source. Sarah, Bradley's college friend, hosted a New Year's party. Daniel showed up uninvited, pulled in by a mutual acquaintance. The sight of him laughing with Wesley in the corner sent Bradley's mind reeling back to the journal. He confronted them quietly in the hallway. "What is this?" Wesley explained it was coincidence, but Daniel smirked. Old times. The misunderstanding exploded into a heated exchange outside in the cold. Bradley accused Wesley of lingering feelings. Wesley denied it, voice rising. "He is nothing now." They left the party early, arguments spilling into the taxi. At home, Bradley paced. "I thought we were past secrets." Wesley sat heavily on the couch. "I did not know he would be there. You have to trust me." The night ended in tears, but reconciliation followed at dawn when Wesley pulled Bradley close. "I choose you every morning. Prove it to me." The sacrifice came in February. Wesley's surgery date approached, and his boss demanded he travel for a major project in Chicago. Bradley offered to take time off work to care for him post-op. His agency resisted, threatening to pass him over for a promotion. Bradley chose Wesley without hesitation. "Family first," he told his boss. The decision cost him the raise but gained him peace. During recovery, Wesley was vulnerable, relying on Bradley for everything from meals to medication. The role reversed their dynamic, deepening the bond. Marcus visited daily with jokes and groceries, the friendship stronger than ever. Societal pressure peaked when Bradley's father called unexpectedly. "Son, some folks at church are talking. Are you sure this is the life you want?" Bradley stood firm. "It is the only life I want, Dad." The conversation ended tense, but his mother followed up with a supportive text. Small steps. Wesley, still healing, overheard and hugged him. "You are brave." Bradley felt the growth in his bones, the man he had become through trial and truth. A major misunderstanding nearly shattered them again in March. Wesley received a letter from his estranged family in Boston, offering tentative reconciliation if he attended a cousin's wedding alone. "They want the old me," Wesley explained, voice hollow. Bradley encouraged him to go, but doubt gnawed. "Will you come back different?" Wesley left for the weekend, promising honesty. While gone, Bradley found an old email on Wesley's laptop from Daniel, congratulating him on the surgery. Paranoia surged. He called Wesley in tears. "Are you hiding contact again?" Wesley rushed home early, the wedding forgotten. "I deleted it months ago. That email was before us." The confrontation cleared the air completely. The last shadow lifted. They burned the printed email in the fireplace, a symbolic release. Spring brought renewal. Wesley recovered fully, stronger than before. Bradley received a better job offer at a rival agency, one that valued his personal life. They moved into a larger apartment together in Queens, a place with morning light flooding the kitchen. Family visits became routine, his parents warming to Wesley over video calls. Friendship circles expanded, the support network unbreakable. Bradley reflected on the journey. The early departures, the secrets, the betrayals real and imagined, the sacrifices made. Each had forged him into someone who understood love was not perfect but chosen daily. One evening on their balcony, watching the sunset, Wesley turned to him. "Thank you for staying when I kept leaving." Bradley smiled. "Thank you for finally staying." The moment crystallized everything, the emotional high point where pain transformed into profound gratitude. They had confronted every truth, emerging whole. The city hummed below, indifferent yet beautiful, a backdrop to their private victory. Bradley knew then that acceptance was not given but built, brick by brick, morning by morning. Summer arrived with long days and open windows. Bradley and Wesley settled into their new life, routines blending seamlessly. Mornings now meant shared coffee on the balcony, Wesley's hand resting on Bradley's as they planned the day. Work thrived for both. Bradley's new agency celebrated his promotion with a team lunch where he openly brought Wesley. No whispers, just congratulations. The societal pressures that once loomed large had shrunk under the weight of their commitment. Family gatherings in Texas became annual traditions, his father even asking Wesley for architecture advice on a home renovation project. The acceptance, once fragile, now felt rooted. Friendships deepened too. Marcus became a regular at their Sunday brunches, bringing his new girlfriend who bonded with Wesley over hiking trails. Sarah apologized for the New Year's drama, and the group grew tighter. Bradley volunteered at the LGBTQ Center, sharing his story in workshops, helping others navigate similar journeys. Wesley joined him sometimes, speaking about living with his condition openly. The sharing healed old wounds, turning personal pain into purpose. A final test came in July when Wesley's brother from Boston reached out unexpectedly. The family reconciliation stalled after the wedding snub, but this call offered real dialogue. Wesley flew out alone for a weekend, Bradley supporting from home with daily calls. "Whatever happens, I am here," Bradley reminded him at the airport. The trip went better than expected. Wesley returned with stories of tentative hugs and honest conversations. "They are trying," he said, eyes bright. Bradley met the progress with pride, knowing the courage it took. As autumn leaves turned in Central Park, They celebrated 1 year together with a quiet trip back to the upstate cabin. Sitting by the same fireplace, Wesley pulled out a small box. "I know we said no big gestures yet, but this feels right." Inside was a simple keychain engraved with their initials and the date of their first sunrise together. "For all the mornings ahead." Bradley laughed through happy tears, slipping it onto his keys immediately. "I love you." The words, spoken many times before, carried new weight. They had earned them through every misunderstanding, every revelation, every sacrifice. Back in the city, life continued with steady joy. Bradley's parents visited for Labor Day, the four of them touring museums and sharing meals without awkward silences. His father even toasted to family, however it looks. The moment marked full circle, the traditional expectations transformed into something broader and kinder. Bradley reflected often on how far he had come, from the man waking alone to the one building a shared future. The psychological growth was undeniable. Decisions once made in fear now stemmed from confidence, actions rooted in trust. One crisp October evening, they hosted a small dinner party for close friends and family via video link. Laughter filled the apartment as stories flowed. Marcus raised a glass. "To Bradley and Wesley, who showed us what real love looks like." The toast lingered, warm and true. Later, alone on the balcony under a starlit sky, Bradley turned to Wesley. "Remember when I thought you would never stay?" Wesley smiled, pulling him close. "And now I never want to leave." They stood there, the city alive around them, two men who had fought for their place in it. The journey had been long and winding, filled with the raw emotions of discovery, the sting of betrayal, the power of forgiveness, and the quiet strength of acceptance. Bradley had learned that love was not about perfection but persistence, not about hiding but revealing every truth until only connection remained. Wesley had found the courage to stay, to trust that mornings could hold promise instead of fear. Together they had reshaped their world, one honest conversation at a time. As the story of their lives continued to unfold, Bradley often wondered about the paths not taken and the ones still ahead. In the end, true growth demanded facing every shadow until it became light. True or false? Can a love built on early departures and hidden truths ever truly become unbreakable once both hearts choose to stay?